We have some big news to talk about on the Deshaun Watson lawsuit front as the NFL has released a statement regarding the new suit filed against the Browns quarterback. So we're going to look at that and then we're going to answer the big question that everyone has right now. What does this mean for the Browns and the contract that Watson signed and whether or not the Browns could get out of it? But I want to begin the video by going in a rough chronological order of everything we've learned, because yesterday is when we found out that Deshaun Watson was being sued for a new lawsuit that was not similar to the previous lawsuits filed against him, and that's a big difference because the previous suspension Deshaun Watson underwent was for all those lawsuits and any other similar ones that might emerge. This is a different thing, which could bring on a new suspension. But let's start by going over the lawsuit itself and everything that it alleges against Watson. I'll start by saying I don't enjoy making this type of content, but this is the news, so here we are. The lawsuit opens up by alleging that Deshaun Watson had an angry outburst over the phone with the Jane Doe as he could not find her apartment, and that kind of led to a strained relationship from the start. Then Deshaun Watson finds Doe's apartment, and as she is getting ready in the bathroom, putting on makeup for their date, Watson gets naked and lays on her bed. When she walks out of the bathroom and discovers a naked man on her bed, he requests a massage on his buttocks. So he asks for the massage. She begins to give him some level of a massage, more on his back, according to the lawsuit, than his actual butt. And then they began having intercourse. And it's not explicitly clear if it was consensual, but it does not appear to be consensual. And that has led to the sexual assault and battery. So Jane Doe eventually kicks Deshaun Watson out. He was very upset. And this was in October of 2020. He's kind of at the height of his fandom in Houston. So Jane Doe is afraid to speak up and ultimately is silent up until recently. So that is what the lawsuit alleges against Deshaun Watson, includes sexual assault and battery. So it's got different, and I shouldn't say charges because this is the one thing that I'm a little bit perplexed by, why it's a civil lawsuit and not a criminal lawsuit against him, because these are extremely disturbing and serious allegations. So why not go down the criminal path? But again, that's not really for me to decide. But that is something that caught my eye and, raised an eyebrow or two by me. So fast forward to this afternoon, and Adam Schefter tweets out that NFL spokesman on the civil lawsuit filed Monday accusing Deshaun Watson of sexual assault and battery. Quote, "We are reviewing the complaint and we will look into the matter under the personal conduct policy." That is a very important end to that sentence. Under the personal conduct policy, not the commissioner's list, which Browns rookie Mike Hall is on right now, which is basically like an extended timeout where you cannot play, you cannot practice with the team. You're not technically suspended, but you cannot play, so you kind of are suspended, right? That's the commissioner's list. So as long as Deshaun Watson is not on the commissioner's list, he can't continue playing unless the Browns decide themselves to either bench him or suspend him for violating their own rules or whatever. But that's a very important note. Personal conduct policy, well, that's going to take a long time to do an investigation, and probably not one that ends before the season wraps up unless new damning evidence comes out, kind of like the Ray Rice video, the Kareem Hunt video, the Alvin Kamara video, where it's right in front of your face, and that might expedite a couple of things. But for now, I don't think we're going to see a suspension coming around the corner because he's not going on the commissioner's list, according to the NFL. They are looking at it through the personal conduct policy. Now, you're all wondering, what does this mean for Watson's contract? That's kind of the $96 million question. I think I got the number correct because that's about how much money Watson has left on his contract. And of course, all of it is guaranteed. It's not abundantly clear what this means for Deshaun Watson's contract and the Browns. We're going to look at the exact wording of his contract, and I am not a lawyer. I am a YouTuber, but I've done my best to educate myself on all the legal jargon. So if any lawyers are watching, feel free to toss me a lifeline in the comment section here. But here is what Watson's contract says verbatim. player hereby represents and warrants, except as otherwise disclosed to club in writing, as of the date hereof, that one player has not been charged with, indicted for, convicted, or have pled nolo contendre to any felony and or misdemeanor involving fraud or moral turpitude. 2. Player has not engaged in conduct which could subject him to a charge, indictment, or conviction of any such offense. And 3. No circumstances exist that would prevent players' continuing availability to the club for duration of this contract. The last 2 bullet points there were the really important ones. The big takeaway in English is availability to the club. If Deshaun Watson is unavailable, which basically would mean a suspension, well, that could enact paragraph 42 to have his contract ripped up because now he is no longer available to the club. So that was my first big takeaway when reading that. The second big takeaway was the paragraph before that, talking about whether or not, can we actually throw it back on screen really quickly, read here, about whether or not the Browns knew about everything revolving around Deshaun Watson. Player has not engaged in conduct which could subject him to a charge, indictment, or conviction of any such offense and felony and or misdemeanor involving fraud or moral turpitude. So, did the Browns know that Deshaun Watson had this potential lawsuit coming his way? If the Browns knew about it, there's not a whole lot they can do, right? It says it right there that the player has not done anything that the Browns don't know about. Now, if Deshaun Watson did not disclose this to the Browns, which maybe he did, maybe he felt like, well, since you guys want me so badly, I'll tell you everything to make sure I'm covered from any future lawsuits. Or maybe Deshaun Watson decided, I'm not going to tell you guys everything because then you might not want to give me this contract once you learn everything. So I'm not sure, but that's the major point right there. Did the Browns have in writing, because it needs to be in writing, this is a contract, everything regarding Deshaun Watson and any potential charges, indictments, and felonies and all this stuff? And if they did, then I don't think the Browns can get out of this contract. If they didn't, they may be able to get out of the guaranteed money remaining on this contract. So, what's next? Wait and see. I mean, now we wait for the NFL to conduct their investigation, see where it takes them, see if there's any substantial evidence behind this claim. I mean, I said on my short yesterday, I made walking home, that I want to believe in this country innocent until proven guilty. And there have been a lot of cases of athletes who take their power and abuse it. And then you see athletes who unfortunately get accused of just false, made-up crimes because they have a lot of money and someone wants to get that money out of them for themselves. I don't know what the case is here, but I know that Watson has lost a lot of credibility and he's not very popular in the public right now. And I do kind of wonder at the end of this, if Deshaun Watson went out in week 1 and led the Browns to a 33-17 victory, throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, would everyone's reaction today be different? Or would everyone have the same reaction? My guess is I think this is a fan base that's just getting sick and tired of Deshaun Watson because they already somewhat, had to buy in knowing that this was a questionable character at best, but they made peace with it because they love the Browns and they're going to root for the team. And if that means a change at quarterback that's not popular with everyone, okay, but as long as the Browns win, we can, kind of stomach it. But here you are now, and you're not winning, and Watson hasn't been terrific for everything the Browns gave up to get him. And there was a fan base, or a section of the fan base, that was a big fan of Baker Mayfield that did not like seeing him go, and now especially with him having some success in Tampa Bay, it makes this trade look even worse. I don't know what's next. My guess is probably nothing for a little while. Again, if new evidence comes out, that's one thing. But I think as long as it is here is her testimony and here is what she is alleging, and it's a he said, she said debate, I'm not really sure if the Browns or the NFL, rather, are going to want to unpack everything that they had to deal with 2 years ago, right? Maybe they decide we kind of went through this whole charade. We don't need any more negative PR brought to us here. We're just going to leave this, let this be. Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say, but that's everything we know so far. I wish we had, more fun news to talk about. It's football right now, and we're talking about like a Law and Order plot. It sucks, but here we are. So go ahead and subscribe, though, for more updates on Watson and the Browns moving forward. We'll be the first one to keep you guys informed, so hit that sub button down below, and I'll see everyone later.